Another beautiful day.
All right, what are we going to talk about today? Today we're going to talk about container gardening. I like pots. I like pots. I like growing in pots. I like growing in containers. I have to because I don't have grass. I have this fake grass, and the only way I can do this is by having things in pots, or I could just dig through this expensive grass that was put down that's a selling feature for this house. So I decided to do things in pots. So if you live in an apartment or whatever, or um, for whatever reason you don't want to put things in ground, to me in a way it's almost better because the soil, a lot of things I can grow I probably can't grow in the ground, but I can grow it in a pot. There are positives and there's negatives, but we're going to jump into that. When I say I grow things in pots, I mean I grow so many things in pots. I use grow bags, I use the black container pots, I use half barrel. And I mean, I have so many everything. I got peaches, I got mangoes, I got avocados, I got dragon fruit, I got lemons, limes, grapes. I have all sorts. Of different cultivars and different things. I got guavas, I got apple trees. I mean, and they all do well here. The thing is, I don't know what it is about Vegas, but the community here just isn't the best. I mean, I don't know. They just get into a it can't be done, so don't try to do it type of attitude. And it's like, if they're doing it in Arizona, then please explain to me why it can't be done here. Why is Arizona's community so much better and bigger? Like, we don't have farmers markets. We do, but they're not from here generally. A lot of these people are from California and other places bringing stuff here. Why don't we have more people doing that here? Like, it blows my mind sometimes, and I don't know. And let me just say this also, social media can be a crappy place. Don't let people discourage you. If you want to try to do something, do it. My first tree was an avocado, and it only went from there. So I always start difficult. I learned to drive on stick shift too. I didn't learn to drive on automatic, so it's like, I don't know, maybe I'm tuned to do things the hard way first. But once you get it down, it really is not hard. I mean, there's a lot of upfront costs, and there's a lot of upfront things when it comes to gardening, but once you have a system, you do the system. But let's talk about the most important thing you have to do, and that is soil. Your soil has to be, it doesn't have to be, for me it's well draining. I think it handles the best, right? So when it's raining, what are you gonna do? I don't want to run around and move my pots around, so you plan for the worst case scenario and you build from there. So this is mineral-based soil made with no living things in the soil, so no barks, nothing like that. This is sand, or decomposed granite, or peat moss, or Coco Coir. I've done videos on this. I've talked about it ad nauseum. Some various other things, but there's nothing that's going to decay in my soil. And I'm talking about things are going to drain fast. A lot of times people talk about root rot and things of that nature, but the thing is, plants like water, and they like the oxygen that it adds, and they like air. So why is water an issue? It's not. The issue is that people have things in their soil that's killing their plants, and then because of it happens when you water, you blame it on the water. It's not the water though. It's because you have bark and all these other things in your plants. I could leave the water on any of my plants and they're not going to die. Like, I'm going to say that again. I can leave the water on any of my plants and none of them will die. That's because of the mineral-based soil that we have. You should be able to grow just about anything in sand, right? Like, you don't need all this other stuff. You think about the forest doesn't have things that are in the soil. Everything falls from the tree, it falls on the soil, and it feeds from the top into the bottom. It doesn't dig its way underneath your roots and everything, so that's the rule. Like, the soil is the most important thing that you could possibly do. Now, there's no nutrients in per se, not a lot of nutrients in my soil, so I do feed from the top, but that's a whole other thing. And then and to boot, my soil level doesn't drop because it's mineral based. It's kind of a little bit of work and maybe a little bit more expensive to do up front, but when you think about how much soil people buy every year because their soil levels dropping because of what they have in it, and the trees that are dying because of that, it's a no-brainer to me. Like I want to do things a smart, easy way and not have to worry about it. Like get a system. So I'm technical, right? I've been in IT for however long, and I'm like the computer person for everybody. So I always think about things logically. Like people are growing plants and things in water, right? Like if they're growing things that way, then why are people afraid of watering their plants? Don't get me wrong, you don't want to waste water or anything like that, but I almost think that I can grow like an avocado tree in water on and it would be fine as long as it's oxygenated and it's flowing, you know. That's the thing. You don't want to sit in water. They don't like to sit in the same sort of water. The oxygen gets depleted from that. But if you're constantly giving something oxygenated water, it should love it. The hydroponics is a thing, right? So I don't know. I just think people sometimes hear things and that they go off of that, or they don't think it all the way through. Whatever the case is, I'm telling you, like, this is proven. I've been doing this for years and no issues. I've listened to the sages of other areas and built upon it and incorporated things into my way of doing things, and it, to me, work smarter, not harder. That's just my philosophy in life. So I'm going on a tangent, but ultimately what I'm saying, your soil is the most important thing. Your roots are the battery of your tree, and that's what powers not your tree, your plants, whatever. That's what powers the rest of everything. So if your roots are bad, everything else will follow. It's just like a human being. I'm not even going down that road. Moving on. I mean, just look at this soil, look at the life. You can see there's bugs and there's things that are alive and moving in it, right? And all the nutrients are on the top and it's feeding down through the bottom, from the top to the bottom. You want it to resemble what it would look like in a forest. Look at the worms, look at the bugs. Everything's on the top. It eats, it breaks down, it poops. That feeds everything, so I don't have to worry about feeding all the time. And this is in a pot, guys. Nothing's crawling into this. I put this stuff in here, and then they give it what it needs, and they thrive off of that. And then the tree thrives off of that. It's like a cycle, and then you don't have to worry about it. You do it once, you don't have to worry about it. Things do crawl around, but and they can make their way into these pots, but for the most part, these are closed loop systems. So everything that's in here, I added, and they live within it. Second, you want to make sure you have a nice mulch. Especially if you're in a desert climate, and it's going to hold in some of that water, but at the same time, the water is going to be able to flow through it, right? Like, so a lot of the times, when I was growing avocados, for instance, everybody was talking about you have to do it on a mound, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to if your soil's well draining. The reason you do it on a mound is because, well, I guess that's if you're putting it in the ground and the soil sucks and all that kind of stuff. So, yes, in that sense. But you just got to think about why the things are the way that they are. You're putting it on a mound because the soil sucks, and you don't want your roots to get root rot because that water is just going to be sitting. But if you're doing it in a container, that's the beauty of it. Like, the water is going to come straight through it. At first, like, I'm sitting here right now, I'm watering this new plant, and I'm flushing it. I want to make sure everything's well watered the first time. And then after that, I don't really want the water, like, it's a science. The water, I'll have trays at the bottom of pretty much all my trees to catch. I don't want to, I'm getting ahead of myself. Another downfall with trees is generally, or with potted plants, is that you're flushing the water, you're flushing the nutrients out of the tree, out of the plant. If you have a pot at the bottom and you're watering just enough so you can see the water come out, and you're watering it just enough to not overflow that pot, your nutrients aren't going anywhere. They're just going to get reabsorbed into the plant. That's all it is. If you can see what's happening with the water and you know what's happening with it, and you can make it so that you're getting that certain amount of water to every plant, you're not wasting water, you're not wasting nutrients, you're not wasting money, you're not wasting time. So that's my philosophy on that part of it. So check this out. This is how much water, I can see how much water is coming out of the bottom, and I have irrigation set to know exactly how much water to put in there to make sure that these do not overflow. Apple tree. And that's pretty much consistent across the board. And you have the same soil that doesn't break down across the board. And you have the same sort of pots. You kind of know, okay, so I can put 2-gallon dripper on this one, a 1-gallon dripper on this one, and that and so forth. Once you start doing it, you start figuring out how to do it. It seems like a lot of work. Maybe it is. I don't know. I do that at first, and then I don't have to worry about it ever again because it's based on how big the pot is. Now, the next most important thing to do, especially if you're in like a really sunny area, I would say you'd have to do this on anything, is get your trees whitewashed. I had made a video on this on how I make mine and everything else, but you can do it as something as basic as there's a specific paint you can use, but I do mine a little bit more natural. I try to anyway. Realistically, you just need to block those rays of the sun. If you're in a desert, you absolutely have to do this. Other areas, I think it's important, and it also is based on a tree. Like an avocado tree is not forgiving, or maybe a mango. It just depends on that as well. Like, it's super important on your tropicals. On trees like this, maybe not as much, but it's still important. A lot of the tropical trees are slow at making the brown bark, but even the brown bark, I still get those painted. But it's just super important to get the trees that are just green, get those painted as soon as you can, branches and trunk. And just look how happy everything is. I mean, I have all sorts of things. I have guavas. These are some mangoes and avocados. I have all sorts of trees. And what you're gonna have to do though is get things protected. Maybe build something, whatever the case is. Get some maybe various different types of shade cloth. It's better to just get something built though. Wind is like your enemy. Get something that's sturdy and that can hold your cloth. But you're gonna need to have, if you're in a hot area like Vegas and you want to do something that's abnormal like these tropicals that you see here, and if you want to have like a nursery and have smaller things, you need to be able to protect from the rays. Not necessarily the heat. The heat isn't my biggest issue. The first biggest issue is the wind, but second biggest issue is the cold or the heat, depending on the plant. But get some sort of way to protect. So I'm not lying. I just want to have you take a look at all these different trees. And again, almost 95% of my stuff's in pots, but roll that beautiful bean footage. Lastly, kind of the most important thing in a way is don't get discouraged. Like, for one, things are gonna die. I've been doing this for years and things still die. Sometimes you can have two of the exact same thing doing the exact same way and it'll die. It just happens. Make sure you're getting things from reputable companies and that are proven, and probably you want to have something with a warranty. And then also don't get discouraged. Like social media people can really make your, put a cloud over your day. Don't let them. Like just because someone says something isn't gonna work, do your research and make sure, or do it yourself. Like I didn't listen to anybody. If I would have listened to people here, I wouldn't have anything. Apparently, if it's not in the ground, it's not gonna work. No tropicals are gonna work here. Avocados don't fruit. Like all this sort of thing, and I've had success with everything that people have said don't do here. I don't know what it is about it here, but it's just not a big thing here. And then once people get into their head that it's not gonna work, they don't do it, and they discourage other people from doing it, or they all get on the same page about something, and then that's all that there is to it. But that's not true. Like this is literal proof that it can work. Don't get discouraged. Do things the way that you know that it can work. Think about why it happens, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. That's where I start, and then I build from there. Like I said, my avocado tree was my first tree, and I've killed plenty of trees. It's gonna happen. For me, I'm more of a tree person than a plants person. Plants are, you gotta come out here on this day, you gotta come out here on that day, and when it gets to this sort of area, then that's when you can be picky. You wait too long, and then you can't. It's gonna die and all this stuff. Trees are more simple. Like they grow, it fruits. I go and I can take a fruit off of it, and I know if it's gonna be good or not. I can look at it. I what it's doing and when it's good. There's no tricks other than how you grow it. Right? You can see all your fruit, vegetables and things like that. I don't know. Those are difficult to me, just because there's so many different ways. You can't seed it this way. You got to put your seeds in the freezer for this amount of time, and then it requires a manual. There's cheat codes. Anyway, that's all. I've rambled on long enough for you guys. Leave me a comment below. What sort of issues do you have? Where are you trying to garden from? What are you trying to do? This works for small spaces, and it works for big spaces. I have a really big backyard. If I didn't have dogs, I'd have trees everywhere. So, to me, this is the easiest way to do things, and it kind of should work across the board everywhere. If you can do it here in this extreme heat, why can't you do it where you're at? You can do it, I believe. One of these mornings, I'm going to convince you to get out there and grow. So let's do it. Let's grow.